something that I do, guys, with all of my classes, because it is a lot of work, is I make everyone do commitments. So basically, we're about to spend the next hour, hour and a half together. We're going to do education, Q&A, and I want you to think about, what are you going to do to make the most of this time? Are you going to turn off your Slack? Are you going to put your phone on do not disturb? Go get some coffee, go get a snack. Tell your kids that they need to leave you alone for the next hour. Do you need to put your pet away? What do you need to do to make the most out of today's session? Write it in the chat and then drop your name and the date and make a commitment to yourself that you're going to pay attention today. Now there's dozens of you here. Okay, we just have a delay. Okay, won't check email. Hannah will be present. Remove all distractions. Take notes. Make a game plan. Awesome.
I got my pen and paper here.
Great. Write your name, write your date, make a commitment to yourself. Okay? Great. All right. So I want to know where you guys are starting from. Are you a brand new beginner? If so, press 1 in the chat. Have you never done a sales funnel before? If that's the case, put 1 in the chat. Now, if you have done sales funnels, but you're struggling to scale, type 2 in the chat. If you believe that you're a pro level marketer, meaning that you have no trouble scaling, that you've launched sales funnels before, you're a master, you're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, type 3 in the chat. Okay. Probably not a lot of 3s. I consider myself to be a 3, but I feel like there's always room to improve. So I'm in between a 2 and a 3. In some instances, I'm a 3, but there's always so much to learn when it comes to sales and sales funnels. I can relate to all of these stages. And that's because I started a course from scratch. I hit a plateau with my course, and then I unlocked the secret to all of this. And I'd like to just go over that with you guys right now. So when I launched my first course, it was about 2 years ago, and I was a content creator. I have a big following on LinkedIn. So that's where I grew my audience initially. And for years, I just provided value. I asked nothing of my audience. I started a social media agency, but I never sold anything to my broad audience. And people would always ask me, because I would always go viral on LinkedIn, and I used to do a lot of like Q&As on live stream and Clubhouse. They'd always ask me for a LinkedIn course. And so finally I decided I would do it. I would turn my expertise into a course. So I launched a first pilot course and I reduced my price. I charged $700 for a course that I wanted to eventually charge about $2,000 for. And right away, class filled up. I really only wanted 30 to 50 people for every class. It was so easy at first to get people. It was like I put up a post and get my students a couple posts, maybe a few DMs, but it took off right away. So made $35,000 in my pilot launch, made $55,000 in my second launch, and then $60,000 for my third launch. So I was like, this is awesome. It's like printing money. I did this course one time. Now I just put up some posts. People keep signing up. This is amazing. And I was really happy with the progress, and the effort that I put into it was totally worth it. But then suddenly, by my fourth and fifth launches, all the course sales plummeted. I was getting half as many signups as I was used to. The team was having to send like thousands of DMs, and people weren't converting anymore. And then I realized I exhausted all my leads from social media, because for 2 years I had grown my following to, now I have like 260,000 followers, whatever it was. And for 2 years, all I did was just give value, give value, give value. And they were so warmed up. But then I basically exhausted all those leads. They took the course, and then all the new people weren't converting as easily. And so at first I was like, okay, paid ads. I can just get new audience from paid ads. So I invested $30,000 in a paid ad strategy. I hired like a vendor because I've never done paid ads before. And we literally got 0 signups from it. It was a total failure. And then I realized, okay, there's something that I'm doing wrong. I need to build trust. People need to trust in me before they make such a big investment. And I haven't been doing the things that I need to do in order to build that trust. And so I started to evaluate the problem and brainstorm my next steps. I need a way to condense the sales cycle, get people to trust me fast. I need a way to share my knowledge, get curious, get people curious to learn more. I need to create goodwill, encourage reciprocity. I don't have time to sell and handle objections one on one about the program. I have a whole other business and podcast that I'm running. I can't do one on one sales. And I don't want to waste money testing a new idea. I tried that already and it failed. So I don't want to spend money on something. And I don't want to be super salesy. I want to maintain my authenticity. And then it hit me. My sales funnel was broken. I wasn't warming enough leads with my mid funnel activities in particular. I was doing all the top funnel stuff and the bottom funnel stuff. So let's talk about what a sales funnel is. The top of funnel, attracting and capturing new leads through content and organic discovery. These are things like blogs, SEO, Instagram, social media posts, signing up for a lead magnet, registering for a webinar. These are all the ways that people discover you. Okay. So anything that's really broad information is going to be top of funnel. Now, bottom of funnel is the decision of people buying your product. So this is where you're converting leads into paying customers by actually offering a solution. This is your CTA. It might include follow-ups, discounts, limited time offers, testimonials, money back guarantees. It's all the tactics that you do for the bottom of funnel to help people make a purchase decision. So I had a broken middle funnel. I had no middle funnel activities. I did not have an email list. I did not have webinars. I did not do anything to help people guide through their problem and solution, which is what the middle of the funnel does. So essentially, the middle of the funnel is nurturing and engaging leads by answering all their questions, understanding their problem, showing them solutions, helping create their identities, changing their beliefs, handling objections. And all these things can be done through podcasts, YouTube, webinars, workshops, email series, challenges, free calls, free trials, blogs, right? And if you notice, blogs are at the top of the funnel, blogs are in the middle, podcasts can also be the top of the funnel or the middle. The key is what the content says. If it has anything to do with solving a problem or going deep on a niche or solution, it's middle of funnel. Anything more broad is going to be top of funnel, okay? So that's what the sales funnel is. And in terms of mid-funnel activities, like I mentioned, webinars, emails, workshops, and so on, I decided to focus on 3 because you don't want to do all of them. Every sales funnel, we're going to talk about this later, is a unique funnel, right? And it takes time to design that funnel. So I didn't go do all of them at once. I decided I was going to do webinars. And webinars led to email newsletters. And those things kind of tied together. And then I decided I would guest on podcasts and then give affiliates to those podcasts. So I'd go guest on Jenna Kutcher's show and she'd get an affiliate for anybody who bought my course using her promo code. And those were the 2 strategies I did. And it totally changed everything. Now, in order for me to get better at my sales funnel mastery, I had to learn from the greats. I'm lucky that I get to interview amazing people on my podcast. So I got to learn from Jason Fladline and Russell Brunson and Rudy Mayware. I leveraged all my deep knowledge of human behavior from experts like Robert Cialdini and Chris Voss and Robert Greene. I started to conduct webinars to sell my course, webinars. And I would do 2, 3 a month. And now this webinar that I'm doing now is maybe my 100th webinar. So got my reps in, got better and better at doing webinars, actually kickstarted my email list and understanding how to nurture via email, because when somebody registers for your webinar, they've got to give you their name and their email. So it's a really great way to also build your email list. So using all these strategies and implementing all these learnings, I made over $500,000 last year on my course, just implementing these strategies. So it definitely works. And some of the unexpected benefits that I got from these mid-funnel activities in particular is that it was a faster sales cycle. So on social media, it might take 6 months to warm somebody up just through content on your social media and nurture them enough where they're going to spend, $1,500 to $2,000 on a course. But on a webinar, it could take 2 to 3 hours, and I'd have people just signing up after 2, 3 hours of just me teaching with them and providing value. It grew my email list like we already talked about, and it also grew sticky fans. So even if people didn't convert, them attending my webinar, them getting email in their inbox from me, it made them super fans. They started listening to my podcast. They started supporting me on social media posts. They would refer me to their friends that might be able to afford or have the time or want to take the course. And so I gained sticky fans from all these middle funnel activities. It also helped me become a better salesperson and communicator. I became better at doing webinars. I became better at doing my podcast. I learned more because when you teach other people with these mid funnel activities, it's very educational based. You become smarter because you have to learn everything you're teaching everybody. And these skills, especially when it comes to sales and communication, has generated me millions of dollars on my network and agency alone. And so mid-funnel activities help me shorten the sales cycle going from cold to sold. It helped me generate millions of sales and improve lives, helped me become a top expert in my niche. And now I want to teach you guys how to do the same. So are you guys excited for this? Are you ready to learn?
Yes.
Thank you, Jonah. And guys, interact in the chat. I know that there's a delay, so I'll refrain from yelling at you guys. It's just a delay. Okay, so today's promise to you. In the next 40 minutes, you're going to get my exclusive blueprint for slaying your sales funnels to six-figure annual sales and beyond without major investment, complicated tech, or high-pressure selling, even if you're new to sales funnels or don't have a big following. All right, so I know you guys are ready to become a sales master. And let's walk through some of the key points as you navigate your funnel. Top of funnel is really all about collecting email. The goal of your top of funnel activities is to collect emails from people who may be interested in your content. That is goal of top of funnel. Then you move on to middle of funnel. You're building trust. At the bottom of the funnel, you're making an offer. And after that initial sale, the work's not done. You've got to retain your customer and upsell so that you can increase the lifetime value of that customer. Okay? So that's the purpose of the funnel. Collect an email, build trust, make an offer, retain, and upsell. So when it comes to sales, marketing, emails are like digital gold. They're so important to your strategy. And emails are something that I started so late in my entrepreneur game and content creator game. Stick on this. And so we're going to hear about why email is so awesome and lead magnets in general from Robert Cialdini, who's one of the greatest psychologists ever to have existed.
I want to stick on this golden rule, right? You must not take without giving in return. That is so important. It guides so many of our actions as humans. And in business, there's so many examples of this, like giving free samples at a grocery store or having a charity foundation sending you like stickers and asking for a donation, or even sometimes they'll send $1. Right. And they'll be like, and then you feel so indebted that you have to reciprocate. Right. So what are some other examples in business that you can think of that utilize this reciprocation tactic?
Well, where people offer online free information you might want to help you with your business. You can send a white paper, you can send a study, you can send an analysis or a podcast link to something that would be relevant. And once that has occurred, people feel a sense of obligation to give back to you for what you have provided them. And it's especially the case if you can, let's say you get something that comes across your desk that's a new study that just appeared. It's not even published yet. And you have a colleague who you want to warm up to you. You want this colleague to feel more at one with you and more partnership. And so go to that person with that new study and say, I just got this today. Nobody else has this information. It's not even published yet, but I'd like to give it to you to make sure that you can profit from it, right? That person is going to feel obligated and grateful to you for giving that particular thing, especially if it's something that nobody else has. Not even publish it. By the way, that McDonald's study that I told you about giving balloons as people leave or as they enter, not even published yet.
It's such a great example. And it's really important to note that you have to give first, right? That's what reciprocation is all about. It's giving first. And it's the same principle. You've got to educate if you want to build a community that trusts you and wants to actually buy from you. You've got to give first. And often you're giving your best stuff away for free. That's usually the way that you do it, because that's what's really going to get people hooked and feel like they need to give something back because you've really added value to their lives.
Right. And the criticism is if you give away your best stuff or even some of your highly effective stuff, well, why do they need you? That's wrong-headed. They want to continue to work with such a person.
So Robert Cialdini is still right. When it comes to giving away your best stuff for free, you always want to be in the mindset of, what can I give that's actually going to help people? And it could be something that you actually sell or provide. And that's okay, because what you want is people to trust you enough and realize that you're on their side and that you're going to continue to help them. You don't really want people to just buy from you once. The goal is for people to buy from you whenever you have something new to sell. And you do that by always being a value and being a servant provider. When it comes to getting more emails, there's different lead magnets that you can use. So ebooks, white papers, checklists, quizzes, calculators. We live in this world of AI where there's AI for everything. Now you can create quizzes super easily, white papers super easily. It's so much different now to create these different lead magnets. And something that I like to do at Yap is whatever I'm creating internally for my team, like let's say we've got like a social media checklist before posting, that's something we could easily just turn into a lead magnet that we use to collect more emails. So we're always constantly thinking like, what do we already have that we're already using that's already useful for us, that's also going to be useful for our target client, and how can we just turn that into a lead magnet? And what that entails is you create a gated asset page, which you can create on platforms like Teachable or your email service provider. And you can include a form basically where people put their name and their email, so you can collect their email. And then there's mid-funnel activities that help you collect emails, like webinars, discovery calls, coaching calls, right? There's other mid-funnel activities that you can use to collect email. Email is amazing because you actually control the algorithm. Email is like a social media algorithm, like back in the day how Facebook was, where you could put up a post and your friends actually saw it because it just was based on the chronological order of when something was posted and if you're connected with that person. And now that's what email is. You control the algorithm. You get to say, this is going to hit this person's inbox at this certain time. And if they don't open it, it's because you haven't been providing value, your subject line isn't good enough, right? And that's things that you can fix, but you have control over the algorithm. It's a direct line to your audience. The other thing that makes email awesome is that people don't often buy immediately. And so if somebody sees your social post, they sign up for your lead magnet, and you get their email, now suddenly you can reach out to them. You can give them multiple touch points. You can bring them on this sales journey. Whereas if you didn't collect their email, you have no idea the next time they're going to see your social post. Okay. Email also provides a one-on-one feeling of engagement and loyalty. People feel like they're getting spoken directly to them. It's a way to get to your audience to even get to know you better. And you can help guide customers through the buyer's journey. Email marketing also has one of the highest ROIs. So you get $42 in return for every $1 spent. In fact, it has 4 times more ROI than social media. So some quick email hacks for you guys is, first off, making growing your email list an intentional business priority. It has to be on the agenda of something that you guys are trying to accomplish, okay? Or you as a solopreneur. Make it a priority. Be intentional. Number 2, you've got to create a high value lead magnet. You don't need to create 30 of them. Start with one. Start with one that you feel like would be really useful for your target audience. What could you give them that would make their life easier and them feel like they have to reciprocate and work with you further? Promote all of your lead magnets on your top of funnel channels. Promote your lead magnet. So basically, if you have a quiz, you're going to put it on your Instagram, your LinkedIn, you're going to put it on your blog if you have a blog, a podcast if you have a podcast. Promote your lead magnet all the time, 1 or 2 times a week or daily if you can. Okay. Next, setting up a reliable email system. So you want an email system with automation and segmentation for better engagement. You also want to think about emailing weekly at a consistent time. So get people used to getting your emails. And then you want to follow the 80-20% rule. So 80% of your emails providing value and education and 20% focus on selling. The reason why you want to do it this way is that if you focus on education and value, people will open and engage with your email. And then when you're ready to sell, they're actually going to open your email. They're not going to feel like it's spammy because you've been providing value this whole time. You also want to test out strong subject lines. And a quick hack for you guys is whenever you see a good subject line that got you to open up an email, put it in a swipe file, copy and paste it, hold on to it, and then use it as inspiration in the future. And then you want to increase your click-through rate by only including one link in your email that has multiple links to the same call to action. So you can have 4 different links, but it's all the same link going to your course or whatever. We're also going to learn a lot about sales language, bottom of funnel language, like urgency, scarcity, all those things so that we can increase conversions ultimately. And then of course you want to track and optimize. You want to monitor your open rates, your click-through rates, your unsubscribe rates, and continually refine your strategy over time. So these are just 9 ways to crush your email because they're the digital gold of sales funnels. And now that you've heard all this, what is one action that you guys are going to take to level up your email? Post daily. Collecting more emails and the 80-20% rule. Nice. Jotting down memorable subject lines. Good. Keeping track of subject lines. Just got a CRM to automate collection of the email info. So personalize my email newsletter. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So now we're going to move on to slay your messaging. And something that you guys didn't realize that I was doing is that this whole beginning of this webinar of me telling my hero story was a lesson in itself. And we're going to kind of unpack that now. So Dan Henry, who's an influencer and entrepreneur, he said the easiest way to become a millionaire is to sell what people are already buying and just say it better than your competitors. Selling is all about communication. Okay? People won't know what you have to offer if you're not communicating it correctly. And people will not buy from you if you're unable to communicate the value, communicate ways that any of their objections and kind of overcome any of their objections. You need to learn how to be a better communicator. Okay? So one of the things when it comes to communicating our offer is something called hook, story, offer. So the hook, story, offer framework is used throughout the entire sales funnel. You can use it at top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And essentially, it's a way to attract attention, build trust, and convert prospects, and even move them from one stage of the funnel to the other. So it's called hook, story, offer. The hook attracts potential customers in, brings them to the top of the funnel. The story engages them, highlights problems, positions the offer, the solution, helps nurture the lead through the middle of the funnel. And the offer presents a call to action and converts people, okay? But like I said, the hook story offer, you can look at it macro as like the hook story offer is the funnel itself, but the hook story offer can also just be used in the individual parts of the funnel to move them throughout the funnel. So like every page, every post, every lead magnet, everything that you do, every webinar has a hook story offer, okay? So when it comes to using it throughout the funnel, your offer on top of funnel is a low friction lead magnet freebie. So something just super low friction. They have to put their name, their email, you give them a freebie. That's the goal of using hook story offer. For the middle of the funnel, it's to get on a webinar, to get on a coaching call, to get on a discovery call. For the bottom of the funnel, it's actually for the conversion, okay? To actually get the sale. So here we have a hook handbook. You want to embrace shock, curiosity, mystery. It's all about intrigue. These people don't know what they don't know, right? You just want to reel them in and get them reeled in with the element of surprise and curiosity and mystery, right? So 97% of businesses fail in 5 years. Here's why. Everything you've been told about weight loss is wrong. This tiny tweak tripled my income overnight. So that's the type of stuff in the top of funnel. Middle of funnel is all about problems and solutions. Again, I've already said this a few times, so hopefully I'm drilling it in your head. Middle of funnel is all about problems and solutions. So this is where you're going to use more stories. I was broken desperate until I discovered this secret. Pain agitation hook, struggling to get leads. Here's why your funnel isn't working. How-to hooks, social proof hooks, challenge hooks. Bottom of funnel hooks is all about scarcity, urgency, reducing risk, increasing likelihood of succeeding if they go with your offer. So you would do things like scarcity hooks, only 3 spots left, urgency hooks, prices increase in 24 hours, risk-free for 30 days, and so on. And when it comes to retention, it's more about community and exclusivity and looking into the future. So these are all these different hooks. It's yapmedia.com/March notes or scan the QR code. All right. So like I mentioned, middle of funnel is all about stories. And you can use stories all throughout your funnel in general, but especially the middle of the funnel. And there's 5 different stories that you can use. Number 1 is the hero story. So this is the origin story of your offer to establish credibility, build emotional connection, and position yourself as a trusted guide. So that's what I did at the beginning of this call. I told you guys how I launched this LinkedIn course and all this stuff happened, and then I realized my sales funnel was broken. Character story. This is a high-profile testimonial or endorsement from a respected figure. So this is basically a celebrity or an influencer who validates your expertise. So this might be like you having a celebrity client or an influencer client, and basically it because they're so high status, your association with their brand makes you higher status. Next is a big result story. So a compelling case study of somebody who achieved extraordinary, measurable success using your course or product. An initial results story, which is a quick win story that highlights how after implementing your teaching, somebody saw immediate, tangible results, proving that even with small wins, your system works. Now, this is especially important when you're trying to overcome objections with people wanting to take your course, where basically they feel like it's too hard, it's never going to work for them. They've got some sort of limiting belief. You're going to want to use an initial results story to show them like, hey, even like you could just do this quick one right now with me, and look, you're already on your way. Okay. Next is an inspirational transformation story. So this is basically a life-changing story where somebody took your course or product, and because of it, they've surpassed even their original goal and they've achieved something more. So now they have better happiness, more sense of purpose, better relationships, like something happened outside of the obvious outcome, and they transform their life. Okay, so these are 5 different types of stories. There's probably other types of stories, but these are the main ones. And these are the ones that you can use throughout your sales funnel. So let's go back to the hero story that I did at the start of this webinar. The hero story is something that you can use throughout all your communications. So this is something that you would use in a webinar. This is something that you would use on your landing page. This is something that you would use on a discovery call with a client. And it's basically a story that you need to outline for your product or course so that you have it in the repository and you can distribute it wherever you need throughout your sales funnel. Okay, so you need to think about what is your origin story. And there's 6 different steps to this: a relatable start, your struggles and your setbacks, your aha moment, explaining the solution, your proof of success, and then how you're going to make it service to others. So I always learn best with examples. So a relatable start. I started my course from scratch. 2 years ago, I decided I was going to launch one from scratch. Oh, you've got an expertise. People are asking you about it. You might even maybe just created your course or didn't even start it yet. Okay. Struggles and setbacks. Some of you might be meeting me here. I hit a plateau after 4 months and it was really hard to convert leads. Then I had an aha moment. I realized my sales funnel was broken. Then I explained the solution. How did I become the expert? Well, I learned from all these great people from my podcast, and I did my research and I got my reps in, and then I figured it all out. And now I made $500,000 off my course last year, and I get paid to conduct webinars because I got so good at sales funnels in general. So that's my proof of success. And now I get to teach you how to do the same, which is the service to others. So that's an example of a hero story, and that's something you guys should write out for yourselves right away.
So the Epiphany Bridge, I've taught like whole classes on Epiphany Bridge. But basically, Epiphany Bridge is like, what is the story about how you got introduced to the thing that you're going to be sharing during the presentation, right? So if you're doing a presentation showing how someone's going to start their own podcast, then the first 15 minutes of my presentation is where I'm telling the story about how I discovered this new opportunity I'm about to reveal to them, right? So the webinar is all tied around the new opportunity like we talked about earlier. So I'm going to tell this Epiphany Bridge story. Here's the story how I discovered this thing. I was just like you 5 years ago. I went through this thing. You're telling the story that you went on and how you discovered this thing. I always tell people, like, when someone's coming to your webinar, they're looking for a result. When they're buying a product, they're looking for a result. And typically when they come to you, this is not the first time they've tried to figure out that result, right? So a good example, I bought a company last year, a women's weight loss company. And I remember the owner when I bought it from her, she said that the average woman in America goes on 8 diets a year.
Wow.
8. Is that crazy? And so when you look at that, if I assume that someone's coming to my webinar and they've never thought about having been on a diet before, I'm dumb. They come to mine thinking they never thought about a funnel before. I'm wrong. So I have to show them, like, what is my new opportunity that's different? Like, they've tried 8 diets this year to lose weight. None of them worked. Why is my new opportunity different than these? Like, why is it different, right? So I'm going to tell my story about, like, hey, I was just like you 5 years ago. I tried the paleo diet, the keto diet, I tried these things. I'd have little successes and I would crash and burn. I had the same problem. So I went on this journey and I found out something that was completely different than what anybody was talking about online. And it was this process called blah, 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 whatever your process is, right? And this is where I tell that whole story, how I discovered it, what it looked like, and then the result I ended up getting because of it. And then basically I tell people then, like, I went through and I figured out a map. I have this map, and what I'm going to teach you on the rest of the webinar is this map and how you can use it to have the same result. And then from there, I transition to the actual teaching part of the presentation.
From the master himself, Russell Brunson. Okay, so next, in terms of our messaging, the things that we need to prepare is something called a big promise. Now, again, this is something that will appear in pieces and holistically throughout your whole sales funnel. So essentially, this is your promise to your audience of what you're going to achieve with your course. Okay, so here is an example of how I would say a big promise in a webinar. In the next 40 minutes, you'll get my exclusive blueprint for slaying your sales funnels to 6-figure annual sales and beyond without major complicated tech or high pressure selling, even if you're new to sales funnels or don't have a big following. So what did I do here? I was specific and measurable in the next 40 minutes. So it could be your landing page for your course in the next 3 weeks or in the next 30 days, like whatever that time frame is for wherever this communication is living. Have some sort of timeline. You want to emphasize ease and simplicity. This is just in general. People don't want to work hard. So in all your communications, you never want to make anything seem hard. Even if it is, you're going to figure out how to make it easy for them to digest no matter what anyway. So you always want to figure out how you can make things look easy and simple, how you can make sure that this looks different. Like what Russell was just saying, they're looking for this solution because they've tried things that didn't work. So how are you going to make this seem exclusive, unique, right? Different, fresh? How are you going to just off the bat, just address their common doubts and objections? When it comes to sales, people think it's really expensive, that they're going to seem salesy, that there might be really a lot of tech that seems overcomplicated. So we're going to address those objections up front. In the promise, you're going to focus on the end benefits, not the process. I keep it simple, keep it easy. Don't tell them the process, tell them the outcome, and make sure that you show implied speed. People love to do things fast. And so another thing that I could do is like in the next 40 minutes, you're going to learn everything I learned in the last 4 years, right? So like make it seem like you're consolidating their time. Okay. So big promise is really important. These are things that you could take bits of it and use it in hooks. You could take bits of it and use it in a webinar and so on. We've got a lot more to learn, but what will you do to start saying it better than your competitors? What is something you're going to do to start saying it better than your competitors? And guys, we have a close-knit class. There's like almost 100 of you guys in here, so we need a lot more engagement in the chat. So how will you be saying it better than your competitors? What is something you're going to do? Make it as personal as possible, okay? Lead with a story. Okay. Use visuals, not just words. Okay. Be genuine. What about what we learned, what I just went over now? Is anybody going to write their hero story? See what they're saying and study how to go beyond what they offer. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's move on to buyer psychology. So, don't sell better cameras. Help your customers become better photographers. Because when they become better photographers, they're going to want better cameras. Okay? This is from Kathy Sierra. So let's try to unpack what she means by this.
When we feel like we're being pushed into making a decision or pushed into doing something, this is an idea called reactance. Like there's an automatic desire to push back. Think of the stereotypical really bad used car salesman who's just trying to sell you anything as long as you buy it today. It pushes customers away from you instead of pulling them towards you. The best position that you can find yourself in is positioning yourself to the customer as an assistant buyer. You're not there to convince them of anything. Your job is to help understand who they are, what they need, what would be beneficial. You have some subject matter expertise in this problem that they're trying to solve for themselves. And so your job is to be their assistant in making this very important, very valuable decision and finding whatever is best for them. Sales kind of has these icky connotations that a lot of particularly new entrepreneurs are very uncomfortable with, when really you can reframe most of that as you are making friends with someone you've never met before. You're trying to understand what would be good for them, and you're trying to help them make a really good decision, whatever that good decision happens to be for them. We talked about value-based selling, really understanding what the customer wants or needs. And then there's a close technique called education-based selling, where you are helping the customer become a better customer of the thing that you sell. There's a quote by Kathy Sierra that I just love. She says, "Don't sell better cameras, help your customers become better photographers. Because when they become better photographers, they're going to want better cameras." Helping people understand more about what it is that you do encourages them to want more. And when they want more, they're pulling from you instead of you pushing on them. Now, there are a lot of, call it structural barriers to making a sale. The classic objections, like, I don't have enough money. I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if it'll work for me. And the best thing about those kinds of objections, you know in advance they're coming. They're always going to be coming. They apply to everything. And so that combination of the mindset shift of, I'm an assistant buyer, I'm going to try to help them make the best decision that I can, and being a prepared seller, knowing well in advance the types of questions that a customer is going to ask, doing your research, having answers to those things before the sales conversation takes place, puts you in the best position to make the final sale.
So many gems dropped by Josh. So you're a guide, you're guiding people towards a decision. And then that whole quote from Kathy Sierra about how help people become better photographers, they're going to want a better camera. That's all the mid-funnel stuff. Help people be better at whatever you're teaching. And then they're going to want the next level from you. Psychology.
You're right.
And now I want to move. So Josh talked a bit about objections. And the next couple slides, I have more information about objections. Here is basically getting you guys warmed up to objections from Jason Fladline. He's he's known as like the webinar king. He sold like almost $1 billion in webinars sales. And so he's going to talk about objections in the context of webinars and beyond.
Completely in dealing with objections. And really all those are our limiting beliefs. Are there limiting beliefs that don't serve you and hold you back? And can we unlimit those beliefs? And that's where we really have a deep exploration. The more ways in which we can look at a problem, the better we can solve that problem. So sometimes we are doing micro, specifically, hey, John had this exact question. Sometimes we're doing macro, where a lot of you are questioning how long it will take for you to get started, and we're framing it from that perspective, right? Sometimes we're closing it, or I'm closing you because I'm telling her a story, but it's really pointed towards you, but it's an indirect way for you to take in information as opposed to me telling you directly, right? There's overt communication and there's covert communication. There's the times where you push on people and you challenge them, and then there's the times where you are just loving on them. And you run through all of them, ideally, throughout this whole process. Mostly what it's all about is the objection. And here's how it always plays out. First, it's money. I'd really like this, but it's too expensive. It's too much money. I don't have the money for this right now. So that's a lie. You learn that that's not truly the objection. But until you uproot that issue, you can't get past it. So we'll handle the price objections. And then the second issue is always time, almost always time. I don't have the time to do this, or how long will it take? And then the real one, the almost always the real objection is neither time nor price. It's always belief. I don't think I can do this. I'm deficient in this way. I'm limited in that way. I'm going to fail. And that's where we really spend most of our time. And they're initially excited. And then they're like, but wait, I got to consume it all. Oh my God, that's going to take a lot of effort. And they will feel very uncomfortable if they don't consume all of your information, even though they can't. The limiting belief is, I have to consume all the information in order to be successful with this thing, which is not how real success works. Real success works is we consume only partial amounts of information, and then we kind of go out there and figure it out. And so I will say to them, tell me when you got a library card, you didn't feel guilty that you didn't read every book in the library. Like if you went to a buffet, do you feel obligated to eat every type of food that's offered to you in the buffet and drink every drink that's offered to you? And people are like, no, of course not, right? Well, that's what this course is like. It's done buffet style. And even if you only consume 10% of it at random, when it came to this content, I am confident you will be able to succeed and move forward with this. And then there's product-specific objections too, right? Where it's, can I use it this way? Will I have access to it over here? I'm from, I'm international. Will it work for international folks, et cetera, et cetera?
I love that. A key thing, young and profiters, is you have to know what people are going to object. You've got to actually think through that and prepare your answers in advance. So go through all the possible things that people could object from your offer and make sure that you know the answers and then creatively integrate it. So I love that.
So some really good hacks from Jason here, and I'm going to just go through some key objections. So the main objections that people have are money, belief, and time. So let's go through one by one. Let's start with money. So when it comes to the money objection, throughout your whole sales funnel, again, these are things that you can use throughout all the different stages. Especially this is more of a mid-funnel stage, because in the mid-funnel stage, they're actually curious about what you have to offer and you're starting to show them about your solution. Middle funnel is when you're going to start talking about objections. So with money, you're going to want to reframe it as an investment. You're never going to want to say cost, price. You want to just say it's an investment in your future outcome. You want to show the cost of inaction. How much is waiting another 6 months going to cost you? You want to compare it to alternate solutions. Hiring it, you could take this course for $2,000, or you could hire a social media team and it might cost you $3,000 a month, right? You can break it down cost per day. Take my course, it's just $3 a day if you break it down, and that's the cost of a coffee, right? You can offer flexible payment plans, financing options. You can showcase big results testimonials to say like, hey, this person took my course. They made 3 times their investment in 30 days. Offer a low cost entry point. So start at a cheaper price. Offer an initial program that might be like $200, and then the middle program is $2,000, or a free trial or something like that. So lots of different options to handle money objections. With time, you're going to want to position it as something that saves time and doesn't suck up their time. So I know you feel busy, but imagine how much time you'll save if you learn this skill or system. You want to offer small, manageable steps. So just in 10 minutes a day, you can do XYZ. In 30 minutes a day, you can do XYZ, or you only need 10 minutes a day to start. You want to reframe priorities. So if this truly mattered, you would make time for it, right? You want to use some urgency and future pacing. A year from now, you'll wish you had started today. You can also talk about stacking it within their existing routine. You don't need extra time. You just could do it while you're working out, cooking. You can listen to it. And you can also share success stories from busy people. And then lastly is belief and ability. These are kind of like tied together because people not believing they can actually complete your course or product, that is a belief in itself. So transformation testimonials are really good for that. Lisa tried so many different programs. She never stuck with it, but because of our accountability group and our amazing program, she finally saw lasting success. You can do initial results testimonials. So basically, if people just feel like this is way too hard, you could try to do like some sort of quick win on a webinar where everybody gets an initial results. You can showcase flexible learning. So what Jason was talking about, self-paced, buffet style course fits within your schedule. You also want to shift the focus from them to the system. So it's not about you being able to do this. It's about following a step-by-step proven system. Encouraging a mindset shift towards a new identity. Now, we're going to go deeper on this in a bit, but really, you want to start in this middle funnel stage, getting people to start shifting their identity where they can see themselves achieving the outcome. Okay, so let's talk about the value equation. The value equation is something that has been popularized lately in entrepreneurship. And essentially, what this means is it's basically a formula for value. The way that people perceive value is by you increasing dream outcome and the perceived likelihood of achievement and decreasing time delay and effort and sacrifice. The more that you can increase the top of the equation, the value of the dream outcome and the guarantee of them achieving it, and the more that you can decrease the amount of time they think it's going to take or the amount of effort and sacrifice it will take, the more valuable your offer will be, the more that people will pay for it and convert. Okay? So in summary, you want to always, when it comes to value, you want to speak in outcomes. You want to talk about the end goal, the dream goal. That's why you need to know your big promise. What are you promising them? And you want to talk about what that end goal is, how it's going to transform their lives and make their lives better rather than all the effort and sacrifice needed to get there. Your job is to be an assistant decision maker. If you scare them away with all the effort and sacrifice, they're not going to buy from you. You want them to buy from you, and then you break down and have an amazing course that provides amazing value, and they're going to have to work. But if you want them to buy, you can't scare them off with all the effort and sacrifice. You also want to talk about perceived likelihood of achievement. Okay, so how can you make this less risky for them to put their hard-earned money down? So is there a money-back guarantee? Are there testimonials? Are there case studies? What can you do to showcase that you're the best solution for them? How can you reduce their risk of buying from you? And then how can you reduce the time delay? So how can you talk about speed? How can you ease their stress that it's going to take too long or be too hard, right? So those are all the things that you want to think about. Now, the key word here is perceived likelihood of achievement, perceived time delay results, because if you don't communicate it, nobody can perceive anything. So it's all about knowing what you want people to perceive and actually writing that down throughout your sales funnel communications and your emails and your blogs and your websites. You want to make sure that you're communicating all these different end goals. You also want to think about giving people more than one option because not everybody has the same end goals. What are all the different end goals that your product offers? What are all the different ways that people can get there from your product? Because people might want to do things in their own way. So there's an example of like people buying a gym membership, right? There's many different ways to buy a gym member or to lose weight. You can go to the gym or you can get a nutrition guide, right? So you want to make sure that you've got different options for people who want to get to the same goal. And you need to communicate all those different options. Okay, so do you guys see how being intentional with words will help you improve your funnel performance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question while people are answering here too?
Sure.
Since it is a muscle you have to practice, what is your filter for when you're getting legitimate critique through a pushback versus it may not just be the right product for someone?
Well, I feel so your question is basically like if some then you might not have done a good enough job in your top of funnel to make sure that you're targeting the right type of person to show up for your mid funnel activity where you'd even get the feedback that they're not the right person. So top of funnel, you want to create lead magnets, and we're going to get to this later on in terms of a congruency. But everything in your funnel needs to be congruent, even from your lead magnet. Your lead magnet needs to be designed for the type of person that's going to benefit from whatever you're selling. Okay.
Okay, I'll let you keep going. I'm so curious.
So, do you guys see how being more intentional with words will help you improve your funnel performance? I see a lot of yeses, which is good. Can you see yourself leveraging these communication strategies and becoming a sales funnel master? Can you see yourself becoming a person who's really awesome at sales funnels? Yes, I'm seeing some yeses. I'm getting somewhere here. Okay, if you see it, definitely great. Okay, so you guys can see yourselves becoming a sales master. And do you guys think that if you implemented just 20% of what you learned today, that you would increase your sales? Okay. So, can you guys guess what I was just doing right here? I already told you about it. I was helping you shift your identities. Okay? I was helping you create a new identity by stating commitments. So all throughout your sales funnel, all throughout your webinars, you want to start helping people shift by saying, like, can you see yourself doing this? Can you see yourself becoming a sales master? Can you, if you did this, do you think you'd make more money? Get people saying yes, yes, yes. Get people believing that they can do a good job at whatever you're trying to get them to do. So you want to help people shift their identities. When people are showing up to your webinar, when people are reading your emails, they're opening it up. They're coming to this event because they feel like they need help in whatever you're teaching. That's why they showed up. So it's your job to help give them a stronger identity so that they can get the help that they need, so that they feel confident moving forward and eventually buying from you. So you've got to nudge their current identity into a better one. And that the tactic that I just did is something that you can steal and do on your next webinar, where basically you see, can you see yourself doing this? Can you see yourself becoming an XYZ, and getting people to shift their identities that way? Now we're going to talk about Boofu Ballin. And because I already taught you about what that stands for, that means bottom of funnel ballin. So how can we get people to actually convert and take action and buy our products? So there's a couple things that you guys want to think about. People want what they can't have. People want what other people do. People want things that only a select few have access to. So these are things to just keep in mind. You always want to make things exclusive. Sometimes when it comes to my agency services, I will tell people I have a wait list because they'll want it more. And then if I come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, it opened up, they're ready to buy because they couldn't have it when they wanted it. People want what other people do. People want things that only a few have select access to. So they want exclusivity. Oh, Susie did it and she had results. I want that. Oh, this celebrity did it and they had results. I want that. People don't want to think hard. They want easy, risk-free decisions. Okay, so that's all the things that you need to think about. Some of the language that gets people to buy is scarcity. That's a function of quantity. So a limited supply. I've got 2 seats left in this class. This promo ends at midnight. I can only take a certain amount of clients a month, right? So how can you make your offers feel scarce, especially if you have an on-demand offer? Social proof. This is a function of people. How can you make it risk-free? How can you make it seem like you're the most popular expert? What testimonials do you have? What brands have you worked with? What is all your different social proof? Very important. You might even want to offer things for free if you don't have any testimonials so that you can get them. And then lastly, urgency. So this is a function of time. How can you make it so that it's a limited time only discount, a seasonal discount? This contract expires in 2 weeks. It'll be null and void if you don't sign it. How can you make your offer urgent? These are all the types of things you need to think about in your CTA, your call to action that's going to get people to actually convert. The other thing that you want to think about when it comes to conversion is status. Okay. So everybody makes decisions based on their desire to either increase their status or avoid losing it. So you want to use this insight as you craft messaging throughout your funnel. You want to make sure your audience sees your offer as a way to either elevate their status, either socially, professionally, or personally. And now we're going to have Russell Brunson explain this further.
Okay, so related to new opportunities, why is status and leveraging status really important to do a good job with that?
Yeah. I bet most listeners will argue with me on this, or they won't believe it's true for themselves. But I promise you it is. Everything we do or we don't do in life is because it all has to do with status. Like if you do something, it's either going to increase your status or it's going to decrease your status. So we do things because we hope it's going to increase our status, or we don't do things because we're feared that it's going to decrease our status. So for example, somebody sees a nice car, like I want to buy a Ferrari. And the reason why I want to buy a Ferrari is because if I buy this thing, it will increase my status. My people around me will think that I'm better. So like that's what drives us to want to buy something, right? If I'm going to buy a course from somebody, there's two weird things, right? If I buy something from you, I'm taking money out of my bank account and giving it to you. So what happens immediately is my status is decreased because I'm losing money. But I have a hope that by giving you this money, it's going to increase my status by the result you're giving me, right? And so they're always weighing like, if I give you this, it's going to decrease my status temporarily. But by doing so, I'll figure out how to do this thing which will increase my status. Therefore, I'm willing to take that risk. So whenever I share this, people always laugh because they're like, well, I'm not that way. Like, I don't do things based on my status. And I actually had this conversation with my wife. When I was writing Expert Secrets, I had a whole chapter on status. And I asked her, I was reading this to her, and she's like, Russell, you don't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I would never buy a Ferrari. I would never do it. I'm like, why not? And she's like, if I had a Ferrari, she's like, my friends would make fun of me. They'd be like, oh, the mom's showing up at the pickup line, picking the kids in the Ferrari. And I was like, okay, like, I kind of stopped and I said, so by you buying a Ferrari, for you, it would have actually been a decrease.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys.
Okay, so related to new
Expert Secrets, I had a whole chapter on status. And I was like, okay, like, I kind of stopped and I said, so by you buying a Ferrari, for you, it would have actually been a decrease in status because your friends and people with the pickup line would have made fun of you, right? All the choices we're making is based on this weird thing of like, if I do this, is it going to increase my status or decrease my status? And so when I'm selling something or making an offer to somebody, I'm always thinking about that. Like by them giving me money, it's going to decrease their status, but I have to help them see the vision of like, over time, this will actually increase their status if they buy this thing. And if they believe that the increase in the status will offset the decrease by paying you, then they're more likely to buy the thing. Mm-hmm. So status is an interesting one that's hard for a lot of people to believe. It dictates your choices, but 100% it is. From everything, like think about like the people we date, the people we marry, the clothes we wear, like all these things have to do with how we perceive it's going to increase or decrease our status.
Yeah, so status really sells. So you want to think about how throughout all of your communications are you going to show people that they're going to increase their status by doing whatever you're doing, by doing whatever you're selling. All right, so let's move on to optimizing funnels. So first of all, when you're thinking about your funnels, the key thing that I want you guys to think about, and I've got a whole webinar, you could probably catch another webinar where I talk about something called bottoms up forecasting. And essentially, when it comes to optimizing your funnels, you actually need to isolate all of them. And if you already have a course or a business, you probably already have multiple funnels and you don't even know like what your funnels are. And so you need to map out what are all the different buying journeys that your customers have. So for example, you might have a ManyChat campaign. It might start with a social media post, goes to a ManyChat direct message automation, captures the email, then it's an email welcome journey, an offer email, and then checkout. And that's one journey, right? There could also be a webinar campaign. It starts with a social media post or a podcast, goes to a webinar registration. You collect their email at the webinar. There's reminders for the webinar event. People go to the webinar and then maybe they make a sale on the webinar. Then there's also the people that make a sale after a webinar. So they come to the webinar, then there's educational emails if they didn't convert already, and then checkout, right? So there's all these different buying journeys, and some of them kind of like rear off and become multiple different sales funnels, and you've got to document all this. The only way that you're going to improve your sales funnel is if you, first of all, know what your sales funnel is, and then you start to track all the metrics. So, for example, how many people clicked on the ManyChat link? How many people registered for the webinar? What is your registration rate? What is your click-through rate? What is your attendance rate for your webinar? If we did more DMs, would that mean we would get more registrants and emails? And would that increase our conversions? Because we know that our emails get a 10% click-through rate. And if just 100,000 more people saw it, we'd make XYZ more money. So these are the types of things that you can start to think about. And that's called bottoms-up forecasting. And you can only do that once you actually map out and isolate your individual funnels. So now we're going to just go through 2 videos that go over different ways that you can optimize your funnels and some of the key things that you need to think about.
I love that. And I can just hear all the passion in your voice. And I teach marketing too. And something that I always tell my students is like, it's all about the nuance, right? It's like these little tiny tweaks that get people to make the decisions that you want them to make. So can you talk about subtle nuances that people can do within their funnels that can make or break their funnels?
Yeah. So first off, it comes back to what I mentioned earlier. So there's always 3 things in every page of a funnel. So the hook, a story, the offer. And I always tell people, like, if you were to hire me, I do consult days for $100,000 a day, and people fly out here. And like, I always tell them, like, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at every page of the funnel, and it's either going to be a hook, a story, or the offer. Like, one of those things is always off, right? So a good example, I have someone that's in my inner circle, and they had a webinar that was teaching people how to like make money with local reviews or something like that, right? The landing page, register, everything was there, right? But it was costing them, I think on average, it cost them like $25 per lead to get someone to register for a webinar. And then from that, it was like, I think they're like 12% of the people who registered actually showed up. So it was costing them like $150 for every person to show up on this webinar. And then the webinar was actually converted really good. Like they were teaching the process, they sold a really good offer, and they did really, really well. But it was just, the conversions were bad. And so they wanted me to help them rebuild the entire funnel and the webinar and everything. And I was like, I don't think it's that big. I think you're just missing one thing. I said, when I look at the registration page, their headline was something like, learn how to make money with helping local businesses with local reviews. I was like, the problem with that is there's no curiosity. When I see that, I'm like, oh, this is a webinar, teach people how to make, they're going to teach me how to make money with local reviews. And if you think you know the answer already, then first off, you're not going to register. And if you do register, you may or may not show up, but you're like, I think I know this, right? And so all we did is we took that, I was like, let's just change the hook and make it more, like, let's make more curiosity in the hook. And so we changed it from how to make money teaching people how to do local reviews or whatever to like, this is the loophole we found to help make extra money helping local businesses. And this is not doing Facebook ads. This is not doing Instagram. This is whatever, all the things that people might think it was. We talked about what it was not. And instead register to find out exactly what this new thing is. And then we'll show you how to use it inside your business. So we just made it more curiosity based. That's all we changed on the registration page. And it went from like $25 per registrant. And I started getting registrants at $5 a piece. So it dropped the cost down to 1/5. And then because people didn't know what it was unless they showed up, their show up rate went from like 12% to like 26%.
Wow.
And so between those two things, all of a sudden the metrics of the business changed, and this funnel went on to make them millions of dollars just by changing a hook on a page, right? So like that's how, like you talked about, it's just like simple psychology that like these little tiny tweaks, these little tiny changes have huge impact across the funnel. And so for me, like that's what I'm always looking for. That's why I look at so many people's funnels just to get ideas of like, oh, look how they did that. Look how they did this. And the more I see people buying ads, like the telltale sign of like, people always ask me, how do you know a funnel's working? Like if the company is spending a lot of money on ads and you keep seeing it over and over and over again, they probably are doing something right. And so I'll click on it. I'll go look at it. I'm like, oh, look how they did that. Look how they framed that. Look how they made this offer. And we're just looking at those little things, and they'll come back and test them on our pages. And like I said, a little tweak like that can dramatically change the metrics of a business. So it's like searching for buried treasure and then applying it back to your business, which is so much fun.
Russell is awesome. And for me, when I first started this presentation, the topic of slay your messaging, we started with hook, story, offer. And I told you that every single step of your sales funnel, from the top of funnel till conversion, every single page, email, blog, whatever it is that they land on, has to have a hook, story, and an offer. One of the first things you could do is isolate your funnels and then just make sure, does every single interaction have a hook, story, offer that just moves people to the next and next action? And if it doesn't, that might be where things are broken and can be improved.
And then it's kind of like online marketing best practices. I think the naming of whatever you're giving away free, the desire of what you're giving away free, alignment on the entire thing, and congruency. Congruency is that when they land on the page, they're on the right page. Navigation above, it doesn't even seem like it's them. There's not authority there. It doesn't load. It's like malware notification. There's all kind. I mean, it's kind of stressful. Someone's like, man, there's so many things. You just want to remove friction. Sometimes the biggest mistake is like you're making a video that have people thinking one way and giving a call to action that's not related. Think about what video would attract the ideal person for your opt-in. What opt-in would attract the ideal person for your offer. And those things are broken all the time in people's businesses. Like someone opts in, but they're not the right psychology, psychographics, demographics, because it was a cool free thing, but did it really align? And then the YouTube videos, if you were talking about how to hire team members in a video, and then you were like, and by the way, if you want to download my 21 tax savings guide, like not horrible, because maybe some people are like, that does sound interesting. The reason they're there, the better guide would be a freebie that's like, and if you want to get my scripts, my job interview scripts for how to really filter out the wrong candidates and lock in the right candidates, just go to thinkhiringscripts.com or click the link in the description. So that would be my biggest thing is like, I think the strategy of the content that attracts the right people, then the opt-in that ties together congruency in the whole thing. And then again, a good sales process and funnels. You probably have endless episodes in your own library of some good stuff on making great funnels. But what's powerful about that is it is a psychology everybody listening to this needs to know. Thinking about their whole, you could call it sales journey, the whole customer journey, thinking about the entire thing start to finish. And that is a never-ending process of tweaking.
Yep.
All of us could improve it, probably a 6 out of 10. And we've done pretty well. Like there's so many things that small tweaks lead to giant peaks. And so just being willing to be like, can I change my opt-in in the future? Can I change my offer page? And it's not even just my offer page, the checkout page and the thank you page, and then follow up. And what do I want to do next? And is that all aligned? And usually when things are not working, it's just because a piece is broken and there's some kind of like cognitive dissonance that happens or something. Sometimes from YouTube to your landing page, it's not quite what it looked like.
One of my favorite things to do right now is
And then I just go into bottoms up forecasting that I already explained to you guys. So in summary, when it comes to optimizing your funnels, you want small tweaks to make a big impact. You want to make sure hook, story, and offer is on every page of your funnel. Every step is being guided by a hook, story, offer. You want to make sure that there's congruency, the opt-in, the content, the offer attract the right audience. You want to eliminate friction, remove any distractions, make the CTA seamless, make it simple, optimize with your data, and you want to reverse engineer success with bottoms up sales forecasting. Okay. Now let's talk about upselling and retention. So the thing with really successful businesses is that they really don't rely on just one expensive product. They upsell and nurture customers over time. Now, I got a chance to talk to Rudy Mayweather, and let me know if you guys are getting, there's 2 more videos, but this one is so good. So I think you guys are going to love it. He drops so many gems. So let's hear what Rudy has to say about increasing lifetime value and upsells.
Oh my God, these strategies are so good. And one thing that you just kind of opened my eyes to is that my masterclass is expensive, right? It's almost $2,000. So my organic leads were willing to spend the $2,000 after a webinar, but maybe for cold traffic, it needs to be like a $200 course, a $197 course.
Most of our stuff, we actually start at under $100, okay? And there's a big important psychology lesson here. Under $100 psychologically, most people don't need multiple decision-making processes. They don't need to review it multiple times. As soon as you go over $100, and especially over 500 or 1,000, there needs to be multiple touch points and multiple conscious decision-making processes involved. Great way I explain this is, when you're lining up at a CVS, Walgreens grocery store to pay, no, you never see that. Why? Because it's too expensive to be spontaneous, right? But that's what a lot of people are doing in their ads when they sell to cold traffic. They're saying, hey, buy this $12,000 jet ski. It's like, I came here I'm bored at work looking at my, friends' photos. I'm not ready to buy a jet ski. So I try and start them low, get them in the ecosystem. When they're a warm following, you can say, hey, you want to come on a week's vacation with me? If you went up to a stranger in the street or on a dating app and the first message was, hey, you want to come on a week's vacation? They're going to be like, who the hell's this, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to date a little, and then you can elevate that process as a relationship builds. Same psychology with dating, same psychology with the user journey.
I want to stick on this for a bit because I think it's really important. The importance of understanding that you need multiple products and you need to upsell along the way. Mm-hmm. So give us an example of how you've done this in your business.
Yeah, great. It's cool. I call this the Ascension model. I think most businesses need this, and most businesses that are successful, they have what's called a high lifetime value. So they have multiple products to elevate people through, right? And obviously the exception again is maybe billion-dollar brands. Louis Vuitton doesn't sell something cheap, but most people that buy a Louis Vuitton bag don't walk around the shopping mall, have zero clue what that brand is, and just go, oh, I'm going to buy a $1,500 handbag. They've wanted a Louis Vuitton for 3 years because their favorite celebrities, influencer, and older sister all had Louis Vuitton bags. So again, you got to realize the psychology is different. For most of us that aren't Louis Vuitton or anything like that, we need these multiple touch points. We need free content. We need opt-in based content where people just give their email address or phone number. You want some generally lower ticket content, which is the first date. You're getting them in the restaurant. And then you need some content where they can start dating you, maybe move into the house, which is what we call middle tier content. And then you want your high ticket content, which is when they're going to get married to you and have kids, right? So if you imagine it just like that, the easy way to understand it, right? The first date is the first message on a dating app or whatever. I saw 60% of people that meet these days are through dating apps now. Kind of crazy, but
wow.
So that first date is that first touch point, and then you just take people through this sort of journey.
Well,
the good thing, the nice thing is you built a big brand where so many people want to get married to you, but now you've said, I want even more people to get married to, and now you've got to kind of start over again over here, and you just got to warm them up a little bit first.
So really good advice from Rudy. I would love to hear what was your biggest takeaway from that. My biggest takeaway was that you got to have an offer that's under $100 at first. I don't have that right now. And that's something that I really want to do and figure out so that I can bring people on the journey and like warm them up better. Yeah. Mimi married a lot. Yeah, definitely super helpful to think about it as like multiple touch points. Okay, so we've got a couple videos. I don't know if you guys want to do you guys want to continue with the videos or hop straight into Q&A? I'll leave it up to you guys. There's a bunch of you guys still here. Let me know what you want to do. You want me to finish the presentation or you want to go into Q&A? Okay. Perfect. So finish. Okay, people want me to finish. Okay. There's only one more video and then like a couple more slides and we're done. Now, this video is about loyalty, okay? This is about retaining your customers and some key insights from the guy who created the NPS survey.
I do think surveys take people's time. The question that was the best predictor of loyalty behaviors turned out to be likelihood to recommend. How likely would you recommend us to a friend? So 0 through 10, we asked that question. That score lets you know if you created a promoter or enriched a life or a detractor or diminished a life. Then we have an open text verbatim follow-up to tell us why. In the customer's own words, they can explain why you enriched the life or how you diminished their life. The people who read it should feel the emotion of an enriched life or a diminished life. And good people care about that. My daughter Jenny said, Dad, our promoters, they tell us why they love us in that verbatim text. But if we ask them, is there anything else we could have done to make your experience better? They tell you good ideas that can innovate and make you even stronger. And remember, your promoters, they're your biggest fans. They want you to succeed. You're a part of their personal brand because when you refer someone, you're sharing your personal identity, your reputation with the brand. It's a big deal. And those people care about you and they want you to succeed. So give them an option to give you their best ideas. But don't go past 3. There's just no way that customers should be answering 5 or 10 questions.
So what are the ways that companies can love their customers and drive more promoters, more customer loyalty?
Yeah, love was a radical word to use. Your happiness is the result of making your partners happy. So if you love someone, most of your happiness comes out of you creating happiness in them. And that kind of love, which is golden rule, love thy neighbor as thyself, that's what makes the world a better place. That love is at the core. Love breeds loyalty. When customers feel loved, they come back for more and bring their friends. And that's what starts this economic flywheel. Love is hard to measure, but loyalty is pretty easy to measure if you're serious about it. Because in this digital age, you can watch how many of customers are repeating, how many are referring their friends. One of my recent investments is in a company that has a technology platform to help give and receive referrals. And I think that's what the world needs to do is referrals are everything. Instead of doing it on a survey, how likely you to recommend, let's keep track of real referrals because that's where the economic value is and that's where the reputation is. And I think rather than kidding around with surveys, let's keep track of referrals.
Yeah. And to your point, love is so important. When you love someone, you're going to recommend the company that gave you that great service, that gave you that great experience. So it's not necessarily that they love your company. They love their friends and family so much that they're going to recommend your company.
Okay, so just to recap that, when you're thinking about customer interactions, it either is going to enrich or diminish their experience. So what does this mean? This means that you need to create a product that throughout their whole journey of using your course, your product, that they have a good experience. So you want to make sure that you're QAing your stuff, that you're listening to phone calls, that you're reviewing DMs, and you want to make sure that your customers are always getting an enriching experience and keep track of whatever is diminishing their experience. And people only refer when they feel strong enough that whatever they're referring is not going to damage their reputation. So people only refer companies that they really love. And because they love the experience that they had with these companies, they're willing to then refer it to their loved ones. It's very hard to get referrals. So you want to make sure that you're asking for referrals at the stage in which your customers are the happiest. That's the best time to ask for referrals. You can also do things like launch an affiliate program that has perks like getting a rev share off your course, VIP access, or access to a mastermind. So there's all different ways that you can incentivize an affiliate program. And then most of all, you want to actually start tracking your referrals. So you can start implementing things so that you know where people came from you, and so that you can kind of focus on and try to scale wherever your referrals are coming from. You also want to get feedback from your customers to continually improve and understand how you stand with them in terms of referrals. And so there's a very famous survey. It's called NPS. It's just 3 questions. How likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague? The reason for the score, and is there anything else that we could do to make your experience better? And that's going to help you innovate and improve your business because your best clients are going to give you the best advice of how they want you to grow and change your company.